It's time for the Coach Groves Show, where we sit down with the head coach of the Darlington Tigers football team and talk about all things Darlington School football. Now we go live to Matt Davis and Ian Griffin, who are standing by with Coach Wayne Groves.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to WLAQ Studios and the Coach Groves Show, where we talk all things Tigers football with the head Tiger himself, Wayne Groves. Matt, last week I wasn't able to be with you. You had Gordon Powers in the booth, and the Tigers took on the Chattooga Indians, so we're going to recap that game to get things started.
Yeah, Coach, let's just go ahead and jump in and talk a little bit about last Friday. Of course, it was alumni weekend. You guys hosted Chattooga, up 21-0 by the time you got to halftime, won by a final score of 35-0. It was the second shutout victory of the season, moved to 5-2 overall, 3-0 in the region, and the defense made things extremely difficult for the Indians all game long, holding Chattooga to just 111 yards of offense, 0 points, as we pointed out. So what stood out to you, particularly about the defensive performance in the game? We'll start there.
Well, obviously the kids did a really good job of absorbing the game plan going into the Chattooga game. And I thought we got out there and we executed really well. We had one of our best tackling games. I think we had only 8 missed tackles on the defensive side this week, which is really good. We're still wanting to get it down to about 4 or 5, and I told them we'll be playing a really excellent defense if we can get it down to that. But the kids executed the game plan. We're locked in, and I told them back when I first got the job, I said, when we start playing good, sound, fundamental defense, I know you're bought into me and what I'm teaching you. I know you're bought in 100% to the program, and so we're doing that. We're starting to do that, and we're getting better on that side, and so that shows that the team is really bought into exactly what we're doing, because sometimes you have to play a little unselfish in my defense, and to, maybe you don't make the tackle, but you make the play by taking on a block the correct way or playing the technique the right way. And so our boys are really bought into doing that, and that's what the result you're seeing on the field.
Now, on the other side of the ball, you guys have really formed a reputation for making a lot of big explosive plays. Friday was no exception to that. You had big runs from D-Man, Sammy. Sammy had a couple of big TD passes. What are your thoughts on how the offense performed last week?
Well, one of the things that stood out to me was that, Sammy Konchesky really operated the offense really well. It seems like he's getting more confident each week. The offensive line is getting better with their blocking rules and blocking assignments, and we're getting less missed assignments up there. And so that's what you're seeing and opening up, and we're getting the guys in space. They're getting good blocks out there, and then they're able to do what they do with the football and get it in the end zone.
And, Coach, there was a running clock in the fourth quarter of the game, so you were able to get some live reps from some of the younger players, guys that don't make it into the game, a whole lot of times. So how valuable is getting that opportunity to get those guys into the game during region and this late in the season? I mean, we're getting ready for game 8 of the year, and so you were able to get those guys in and get them some experience as we get towards the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, just for conditioning factor, I want to make sure our guys at least play, 3 hard quarters, the varsity starters. And once we get into a running clock situation, I always want to try to get as many young guys as we can in there. And really this year, probably, I'd like to get them in there more if it was possible. Because we've had 6 JV games cancel. We scheduled 6 JV games. We've only been able to play 3 because 3 of them, the teams have backed out and canceled the games on us. And so, be able to try to get those guys in a couple of games back-to-back weeks against Coosa and Chattooga, I thought it was imperative that we were able to get some young guys in there to get those reps.
And you already touched on this a little bit, but last week's honeymoon bakery icing on the cake player of the game was Sammy Konchesky. He had a 34-yard touchdown run, a couple of touchdown passes, intercepted a pass, made a few tackles. What are your thoughts on how Sammy approaches the game each week and his performance last week in particular?
Well, again, I think his understanding of the offense is just getting better and better each week. He did a great job with his reads on our option runs, our power reads, and our zone reads. He did a great job on that. He did a great job play action. He's good on the boots, getting him out in space and throwing the ball on the run, sprinting out left to right. And then I thought he got better in the pocket with his timing and footwork of routes and getting balls out on time. And so I was really, really pleased how Sammy played.
Well, congratulations to Sammy Konchesky. He was this week's Honeymoon Bakery Icing on the Cake Player of the Game, an award that he's won twice this year and is just doing an absolutely phenomenal job, no question about it. Well, now we're going to move into the part of the segment where we talk about the black shirts. I know that's something you get fired up about. And, of course, People, looking on the screen right now can see the black shirt there on the wall. We appreciate you bringing that in last week. So, Coach, tell us a little bit about the Black Shirt Awards this week.
Okay, so on offense, we couldn't decide. We had a split vote in the coach's office, and so when we do that, I want to give more than one award. I want to recognize kids that are doing things the way they've been coached to do and playing at a high level. So, we always try to want to give it to the unsung hero that people may not know about. So Connor Ellison, a senior offensive lineman. Connor, he plays some tackle, he plays some guard. So he played really well up front. We thought he played the best of those guys up front as far as grading out and not making many missed assignments. And then Sammy Koncheski, we gave him the black shirt too. We just thought he just looked so more confident and in charge of the offense. And I thought the way he threw the ball and stayed in the pocket and threw balls on time, I thought that he needed a little pat on the back and reward because if you play quarterback, it's the toughest position to play obviously on the field, and you're probably the most scrutinized. And of course we're coaching him hard at practice and we're on him. So Sammy performing the way he did, we felt like he really deserved that. On defense, we could have had a few other guys. Timmy Smith played really well. He graded out really well. He's making a lot of plays. Noah Duggan played excellent again at Mike linebacker this week. But we thought the guy that just gave us another spark and flying around and also had about 7 tackles in protection was McKay Rush. So McKay, he's been back for the 3rd week now, and so he's really playing hard and executing his position the right way. And so McKay gets the black shirt on defense. Special teams, I think this is the 2nd or 3rd time this kid has gotten one, but I think he had 3 tackles on kickoff, and he's blocking on punts and done a great job on punt return. So Aiden Davis, a senior cornerback, wide receiver, Aiden gets the black shirt on special teams. And then our scout on Scout O, freshman offensive lineman Vince Height, who is going to be a name that you're going to want to remember for the next few years. He's just not quite ready this year. He's a big kid. He's about 6'2", about 265, freshman lineman, but he's done a great job on the scout. And so Vince got that. And then on Scout D, we have another freshman DB, Preston Wilson, who plays corner and plays a little bit of safety. But Preston's always out there, and he's doing a great job. He's improved tremendously since the beginning of the season. He's lifting his weights, and he's a super smart kid. I tell the kids he's going to be the governor or the president one day. So that's the kind of smarts that Preston has. But he's going to be a good football player too. So Preston Wilson gets the Scout D black shirt.
Well, congratulations to all those guys as well. I always enjoy hearing about that. But we'll move into our next part of the segment.
Yeah, so last week was your first alumni weekend as the head coach of the Darlington Tigers. What was the experience like from that aspect of the game?
Well, more people in the stands. People are going to come to those Darlington events. They have such a sense of pride in their community and just pride from going there. And so, those people are out, so it's good to have that louder crowd there. It's good to see when you look up and you see not only the stands full, but around the fence it's starting to fill up, and the boys really feed off that. So that's huge to have that kind of Tiger Nation, Tiger support, and it was a great night for the Tigers.
Go ahead,
and Coach. At this point in the season, you're down to these last 3 games. You're undefeated in region play. What are the biggest areas of growth you've seen from your team so far from day one and through last week's game?
Well, we've gotten better on penalties, but we still got room to go. I think there's still things that we can clean up in that aspect, especially on the special teams. We've had some great blocks and some great special teams play, but I think the penalties are what we got to clean up, especially on some of those kick returns and on the punt returns. We talked about that in previous weeks, how those are just huge yardage killers. But we've gotten better there offensively. We're having less missed assignments. We're having a better understanding of the offense and how the execution of the plays and pass protection. And so the timing's getting better with receivers. The running backs are understanding how the blocks are happening and where they should make their cuts and all that. So defensive side, we're just playing better fundamental defense. We're attack and react defense up front. So I want our guys, stepping and striking and fitting, that inside hand on the breastplate, outside hand on the bicep, and then we're going to play that block, down base reach or pass set. and the linebackers on their reads, they're going to read that back's first step through the play side guard, and then we're going to fit and get downhill and work off each other. And every defense, we got to understand that, who's the force guy, who's responsible for sending the ball back inside or making the play if it comes outside. And so the kids are just, for each of these calls, they have to know that, their alignment, their assignment, who's the force player, who's the pitch man on option. So we're just having a better understanding of our total defense. And the kids now, we're starting to play fast because they're comfortable with what they're doing. And again, I want to keep it as simple as possible as we can for them, so we can play fast and we can have our athletes make plays.
And I'll ask a follow-up question to something we asked you at the beginning of the season, and we were asking you about the adjustment from going from a coordinator to a head coach, and how, you'd have, just for example, you might have 1 page of stuff as a coordinator, but then you jump into the head coaching role, you got 4 pages. So from where you started at the beginning of the year to where you are now as a head coach, is there anything that's been added to that list or has changed about your perspective about being a head coach?
Well, the coaching the football, that's the easy part. That's the best part of my day. What's not so much fun is, making sure you got pregame meal lined up, make sure you got postgame meal lined up, making sure you have got enough Gatorade in the locker room, making sure halftime snacks and nutrition are there. It's all the little things that pull your time away that you really don't even think about once you get a head coaching job. But, I've got a to-do list a mile long, and I have it right here. On Monday, I have one of these for a head coach. I have one of these as what I got to do for defensive coordinator. And so Monday I'm doing these tasks. Tuesday I'm getting these tasks done. And so that helps me be as efficient as possible. I don't want to waste time during my day. But yeah, it definitely things come up beyond your control. Like we found out yesterday that next week's games get moved to Thursday. So now I got to navigate that and make a new practice plan, because now we're kind of getting out of our routine a little bit. So, those things are a lot of what people don't think that a head coach has to deal with, but something that we do.
Or you have a broadcaster who's texting you before the game wondering if anybody's changed their numbers or if they can get an interview afterwards.
Yeah, nobody would ever do that.
Well, we're glad everybody's with us tonight, and this is the Coach Grove Show here on the WLAQ YouTube channel, also our Facebook live feed. Super glad to have y'all with us, and we're going to get ready for our Getting to Know Coach segment of the week coming up here in just a couple of moments. Looking forward to this one, as I know Ian and I are big fans of this question coming up.
Right,
so
little rock and roll base.
It's going to be interesting to get the response here. So we'll have that coming up here in just a couple of minutes, or, less than a couple of minutes. We'll be back after a quick word from our sponsor, and we'll be back with Coach Groves.
Shop for your next car, truck, or SUV at Riverside Auto Group. Check out riversideautogroup.com today to browse their selection, or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet Buick GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, and the all-new Riverside Buick GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group. Visit riversideautogroup.com.
I'm really fighting it, man. I'm trying not to dance during the song. I know that's a little bit awkward, so I try not to do it. But anyway, speaking of songs, we've asked Coach Groves, several times some questions where music came into the picture as a part of the answer, and one of them was, I believe, last week when you asked what interest he has outside of football. And, Coach, one of the things you talked about was spending time in the weight room and throwing the headphones on and all that kind of stuff. And so with that said, we want to know, when you put the headphones on, what's on the playlist?
Well, I'm probably unique in a lot of ways that, my playlist is broad. I'll just say that. I've always been the rule, if it sounds good, if it's got a good beat, and it's got good lyrics, and I'll listen to it. So, and I think I'm different in the fact that, I'm kind of the first generation of, I guess, coaches that kind of grew up on rap music too. So, you're going to hear a little bit of everything. Of course, I'm going to stick with my 80s, so there's going to be Guns N' Roses, there's going to be Van Halen, there's going to be, Metallica, there's going to be all that kind of stuff on there that I love. Def Leppard, Poison, that genre. But then you're going to see, you're going to see Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, and I've been in the inner city school systems for 15 years before coming to Darlington. So we listened to a lot of rap music, and some of that rubbed off on me a little bit. So I kind of got a little soul to me, I guess you could say.
Nice.
So you're going to see Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. Even though when I played that at Rome the previous years, I had one of the kids said. I had some Dr. Dre song. He goes, "Coach, that's what my grandma listens to." And I was like, "One, you made me feel old." I said, "Now, but your grandma's pretty cool now, probably." So
If I'd played that stuff in front of my grandma, I'd have gotten my mouth washed out with soap. So,
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. I don't know if I should say this on the show or not, but back in the day, my mom's watching, is why I say that. But back in the day, we didn't have like file sharing and all those sorts of things, Spotify, things of that nature. So we would make tapes for each other. And I remember, friends making tapes of Dr. Dre and stuff like that for me. And I'm like trying to make sure that my folks don't hear this music, that sort of thing. But,
yeah, that's a tricky proposition. So let me ask you this. I know you're a big fan of all the 80s sports anthem movies. Are there, you got a little Rocky on that playlist? Anything off of those movies?
That's a staple. And now me and Coach King, we're some Rocky fans. So you're going to hear Eye of the Tiger at Darlington, especially. You're going to hear Burning Heart. You're going to hear all those good ones.
Yeah, I think that people who listen to me and Matt over the years think we're absolutely obsessed because the bumper music, at least 3 or 4 days a week, you have a little Rocky in there somewhere.
We throw in the training montage, No Easy Way Out, all that sort of stuff. The Rocky IV soundtrack mostly. Yeah.
But there's nothing more motivating than the Rocky theme song when you're out working out. That's my opinion.
That's definitely on our pregame playlist.
Excellent. What about your players? What's popular in the locker room right now?
They anything like Young Boy, they like that. Lil Baby, they like that, and so. We let them listen to that stuff in the locker room pregame, if it gets them going. But we're also going to play, we're going to play the Eye of the Tiger, and we're going to play some Phil Collins in the air tonight, and we're going to play a little rock. Coach Loudermilk, if we're playing the rap music, he kind of steps out, but I get him back in with some AC/DC or some Metallica, and now Coach Loudermilk comes bebopping back in the locker room, so that's good.
Me and Matt are big fans of Joe Bean Esposito, and You're the Best Around. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Karate Kid.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. That's one.
Of course, one of the things that's been kind of interesting, my son is 15 now, and he's starting to like a lot of the bands that we grew up on and that sort of thing, which has been a new phenomenon because he'll start telling me about it. I'm like, dude, I've seen them 5 times. You're telling me about this? So that's kind of interesting when that starts happening. Now I know how all the classic rock people that I know feel when I get fired up about Led Zeppelin, the Stones, and stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh, don't tell me about those bands." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's funny looking around the stands and seeing high school age kids wearing Nirvana and Sublime and Pearl Jam T-shirts when that was what we were into when we were in middle school and high school. So I guess it's a cycle.
Definitely,
Yeah.
No question about it.
Now, Coach, this week you are going back to your alma mater. So we wanted to talk to you about your memories of playing at Pepperell, what it meant to be a Dragon. You're a Tiger now, so we know you're bleeding purple and white. But tell us about your time at Pepperell and your experience playing football there.
Well, I played football at Pepperell since 2nd grade and then all the way up. And so I think by the time when I was in 4th grade is when Pepperell won the 1990 state championship. And so as a kid, you looked up to those guys they were Herschel Walker and Joe Montana to us as 4th graders, Frankie Fletcher and Ken Irvin and, all those guys, Tony Hall, and Rusty Mansell's and the Scott Crabs, those guys were who we wanted to be like when we got to play high school football. And so, I had a great experience there. I had Coach Honeycutt as my head coach. David Jones was my defensive coordinator, and even Coach Hunt coached me my senior year that's at Darlington now. So, I had a really great experience, and I bled black and gold, all the way until I graduated, and I still pull for Pepperell in any game they're not playing the Darlington Tigers. So, it's going to be interesting. I hadn't been back to a Pepperell game in probably 18 years, and I definitely have never been on the visitor side. So, I'll probably look over there and soak it in for a little bit, and then get back focused on the game. So, we're going to get out there and block and tackle, and we're going to do our best and see what happens.
And you mentioned Coach Honeycutt. What are some of the things that you've taken in your coaching career that you learned from him as a player?
Well, I just think the discipline of your program. You want to run a good program. You want to take care of the kids. It's always kids first. He used to talk about the 3 B's: books, barbells, and ball. So that's something that's stuck with me. And not only did he he was a good football coach, or a great football coach. You know, he's a Hall of Fame coach. He taught us football. He taught us about lifting weights and all that. But you know, he invested us as young men. You know, so you know, there was a time where, you know, I'd sit in his office and, you know, he would give me life lessons and give me advice. And so some of that stuck with me for my whole life. And it's one of the reasons I'm coaching today. You know, if I didn't have that great experience where those coaches invested in me at Pepperell, I wouldn't be in this chair today. So I got a lot of respect and, you know, a lot to, you know, be thankful for being in a program like that.
This is kind of a random question, but I also went to Pepperell, graduated a couple of years before Coach Groves. But did you ever have Coach Honeycutt for keyboarding class? I'm curious.
No, I didn't. I had Coach Shiflett for keyboarding, but you know, we could hear him from our classroom. We could hear him.
I had the class, and let me tell you, I can type really well. No doubt about it. Oh, man. Well, this is a lot of fun. We appreciate everybody being with us today. This is the Coach Grove Show on the WLAQ YouTube channel, also our Facebook Live, and we're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to get into the matchup. It's the Darlington Tigers going down to Lindale to face the Pepperell Dragons. As far as high school football matchups in the area get, this is a pretty darn good one. This is going to be super exciting. We're really looking forward to it coming up this weekend. So let's take a break. We'll come back, and we'll talk about the matchup after we return.
Shop for your next car, truck, or SUV at Riverside Auto Group. Check out riversideautogroup.com today to browse their selection or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet Buick GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, and the all-new Riverside Buick GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group. Visit riversideautogroup.com.
All right, we jump back into our conversation with Coach Grove's show here on the Coach Grove Show. We're glad to have you with us. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about the matchup against the Pepperell Dragons coming up this weekend. And, of course, the Dragons, they experienced some growing pains at the beginning of the season, lost their first few games, but they've reeled off 3 straight wins, one over Temple, a pretty good football team, then region wins over Chattooga and Almerchi. Had quite a battle with Almerchi last week. So when you look at this team and how they progressed from the beginning of the season to where they are now, Coach, what's changed with this team and their progress?
Well, one is, you know, Coach Hurst and his staff has done a really good job with the team. You know, sometimes when you have a rocky start like that, it's hard to get the boys back. And so he's definitely got them improving. They definitely improved. They're playing together. It seems like I think they had maybe some injuries and got some guys back. So, you know, they really have been the last 3 weeks. They're kind of clicking on all cylinders. And, you know, what you'll see is they're very big. They're very big up front, offense and defensive line. And, you know, that's kind of been a staple of Pepperell. They've always had some big offense and defensive linemen. So, you know, when they have that, you know, that's always a kind of a problem. They're running the football really well. You know, the Rogers kid really runs it hard, and then the quarterback, Sam Moss, you know, he really is a really good athlete. You know, and he can do a lot of things. You know, with his feet, running the football in scramble situations, sprint outs, and bootlegs. You know, he can be a problem. So it's going to be a challenge for sure.
Coach, you mentioned some of the strengths of this Pepperell Dragons team. Let's talk about the environment. We've talked about the personal aspect of it for you, but in Floyd County, I don't know of an environment any rowdier than Lindale. The milk jugs, the dragon breathing fire on top of the press box. The cannon. I mean, it's going to be rowdy on Friday night. How are you preparing your team for that environment?
Well, you know, we just got to focus on the things we can control, and what we can control is blocking and tackling and formation recognition and executing our assignments. And so that's been a point of emphasis. You know, it doesn't matter where we play at, it doesn't matter who we play. The focus has been on us, Darlington Tigers. And if we handle our business, then we'll have a good ball game and a good outcome. So that's been the focus.
And, Coach, specifically, what type of offense do you see the Dragons running this year?
All right, so you're going to see some 11 personnel, which is, you know, one running back and a tight end, H-back type deal. You're going to see some 21 personnel, so you'll see a tight end and you'll see 2 backs with 2 wide receivers, and you're going to see a little bit of 10 personnel. And so what they're doing out of it is, you know, they're running power, They're running old, power. They're blocking down and kicking out. You're going to see counter game. You're going to see inside and outside zone. Some where they read it, and then some where they're booting out the backside. So they do a real good job with the boots, real good job with the screen game, and they're very big and physical up front. Pass game wise, they throw some verticals, vertical switch, curl flat concepts, and then they're really good in the screen game there. Some of the guys are going to stand out. You're going to see 62, Elliot Goggins. He's a 6'3", 230-pound tackle. You're going to see the other tackle, Peyton Owen, who's 6'3", 300 pounds. Both of those guys really good. The Rogers kid, number 3, runs the ball really well. And then Eric Jensen, who's a all-region player at linebacker. He plays their tight end, sniffer back, H-back. He's very productive in the blocking. He's very productive catching balls down the field, and so he runs their defense too. And he's going to stand out. They got another good backer, Jordan Rogers, number 23, is another inside backer who plays good, well, and downhill, and he's physical. And then got a cornerback, Corey Moten, who's number 4, who's a good athlete back there that can man up and play. They're going on defense. They've been more 4-2 and 3-4. You're going to see some cover 3 and cover 4, and they do a great job of moving and stemming up front. So they try to don't let you figure out where they are. And so, we've worked on some of those things, and we feel like we've got a good plan for it.
As far as any key players you're game planning for with Pepper, what do you expect from them as far as who they'll put the ball or give the ball to? Sorry.
Well, they're going to, their offense is about 70% run, about 30% pass. And so they want to establish the run game. They want to get that going. And then, they want you to move the chess piece so that, they can throw their play actions and boots off of it, and then, you just got to you got to stop the run. Number one for them, you got to stop the run. You got to put them in throwing downs, and then we can maybe pin our ears back and maybe get a good pass rush and get some big plays in that area. But you got to stop the run first against Pepperell. Nothing's changed over 30 years. They're going to lean their hat on that, and that's what they're doing this year, and that's why they've been successful the last few weeks.
Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in to the show today for the Coach Grove Show. We're going to start winding some things down and looking forward to the game coming up this weekend. As we pointed out, a couple of times throughout the course of the show, of course, you're going to have this game and then 2 more games. I know that there'll be the game against Murchie. That will be back at Chris Hunter Stadium, then wrap up on the road at Trine. There'll be a bye week, between the Murchie game and the Trine game. So season will be winding down as far as the regular season is concerned. And then once you get past this week, there's a change in terms of when the next game will be against Murchie. That's going to be a Thursday game. I think we mentioned that earlier in the program. So anyway, appreciate everybody being here today. Thank you, Coach, for your time. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and we'll wrap things up. But I guess we'll end it how we do most weeks, every week for that matter, and say, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Thank you. Anything else, man?
That's all we got today.
All right. That's going to put a wrap on this edition of the Coach Grove Show here on the WLAQ YouTube channel and the Facebook Live feed, and hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your Wednesday evening. Go Tigers.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of the Coach Groves Show. We invite you to join us again next week as we discuss all things Darlington football with head coach Wayne Groves. Go Tigers!